What's up, everybody? We're live. And as you can see, I'm not alone. By popular demand, the Homestead Honey, Michelle. Actually, Homestead Honey is your middle name, right? Yeah. So anyway, she's here with me tonight. And as you can see, I am greatly outnumbered. We got Shelly from Two Old Crows Homestead, a friend of mine. We got another, in fact, they're all friends of mine. Nicole Sauce from Living Free in Tennessee. Best podcast out there of its type. And you ought to subscribe. I listen. She's also a friend, and she's also, if it weren't for Nicole, honestly, there's a lot of these events that wouldn't go off. And the same thing with Gabby. And she's a friend of mine, too. You probably see her along with Matt at Homestead for a Living, formerly the Sovereign Village Project. Now, tonight is going to be a focus. And I want to thank everybody coming in. If you would, hit that thumbs up button. It tells whatever the algorithms are that we're live. So I'm going to ask a couple of times throughout this. Thumbs up button. It tells whatever the algorithms are that we're live. I'm here. One of y'all. And I hate the sound of that guy's voice.
There's an echo in here.
This guy's a real chump, whoever he was. Everybody, yeah, hit that thumbs up if you would. Today's pretty exciting for a couple of reasons, because not only did I manage to talk her into it, which is nearly impossible. She's starting to, if it weren't these ladies on here right now, I doubt she would be here, but she knows them all and she met them all. So she's not.
Well, I've not met Shelly yet. I'm one of these days I'm going to meet Shelly.
Well, she's going to meet you pretty soon. You're going to meet each other at one event or another. I managed to get her to go to the Self-Reliance Festival. She, along with Eric Sider, are going to help do the swale class. Eric's coming all the way in from California. So, she's not the swale class, but the
Guild.
Yeah,
the Plant Guild class. So everybody out there, look, go get the tickets right now. Gabby has an event coming up, and we're going to have that link down below. It's Gabby, why don't you tell them what that is here in a minute? And Nicole has one coming up also. Everybody and their great grandmother right now has the festival kicking off. But look, y'all, go to freesteading.com. Let me quit talking over myself here. Go to freesteading.com, and there's a calendar on there that tells you where all these events are going on. I loaded up a couple of them yesterday, ones that I know about, ones we're going to be there. You want to go there and find out where all these things are. But if you want your discount codes and all that stuff, it's all going to be linked right here down below. So, folks, tonight, reason why, well, I'll give everybody a shout out here. T-Paul's at the top of the list, as always. We're going to give everybody a chance to ask a bunch of comments. But look, tonight, if you've been listening to the Permaculture Pimpcast, which is basically the podcast that William and I do, and we actually get her on from time to time, I'll be talking Nicole into doing it, John into doing it, and all my friends out there, everybody you probably see on the screen will likely be on that Pimpcast along with me. And what we've been focusing on as of late is the need for us within this realm, everybody on this feed, to start doing business with one another. We are absolutely missing the boat by going to these big box stores, spending our money with people that honestly hate our guts. Now, I'm going to just give you a brief example of what I'm talking about. I walked around our kitchen along with her, walked around the bathroom, the two most frequented places in the house. In fact, the bathroom's the one place I can truly call home, you dig? And I'm looking at every single item in there. And we agreed, mostly me, saying that we are going to create a movement where we replace every single thing that we buy from a box store. And I don't care if it's coffee, I don't care if it's dish soap. We are going to encourage enough people out there to get out there, get off their butts. And I'm talking to everybody out there, y'all. I'm not being mean here. And I'm going to give you examples, just like I did with Matt and Gabby the other day, of how simple ideas can be. I'm not saying making the products could be easy, but we're going to talk about that. And the big thing that I'm trying to push is that every single item in this house that we buy on a regular basis, we are going to buy from people like the ones you see on this screen. First of all, the first one up, we drink coffee every single day. You want to see somebody lose her mind? Let Michelle not get her coffee. Coffee from Nicole. We do. And also, we have it listed down below in all of our videos. We're an affiliate with her. So every month.
So I tried out a bunch, and
you can, honey, you don't have to yell. You're okay.
You're good. It's all good.
I'm used to doing it. But the Dark Horse blend is my absolute favorite of all of her coffees. I mean, all of them are good, but this one just happens to be my favorite.
But the real thing is you get on a monthly subscription to
Right.
get this
It's
stuff.
the monthly subscription. That way I don't have to think about it. It just shows up. And also if you get the Dark Horse, some of the proceeds go to benefit combat veterans. So
$5 of every pound of that sold goes to the Dark Horse Lodge, which is a combat veterans retreat in Tennessee, kind of close to Gabby, actually. It's not that far from you. That was built by a mother who lost her son.
That's what I'm talking about.
And a lot of the building has been done by veterans. They'll show up and they'll flash mob her retreat, but they've got cabins, and it's so that veterans can be with veterans out in the country, do activities together, and start the emotional healing from being exposed to all of the things they've had to see.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. But folks, right off the bat, our coffee, I never have to worry about it anymore because I'm buying from my friend. Okay. And as I've said before, I am willing to pay more if it means it keeps me out of Target and Walmart. You dig? It keeps me out of Sam's. One of the newest things we got right now, we got 2 items knocked off the list. And number 2 is from my friend Shelly. And this is what we're getting from her. Y'all, I'm telling you what, I came out of there smelling like 30 miles of swamp. I jump in there, and this is like straight. I mean, this is better than any Irish Spring commercial.
yeah, the scent, the smells. I like one of my favorites is the Sexy Beast, and the other one is the Pot of Gold.
Yeah, but what we're getting out here, y'all, is that we no longer are going to buy. If there is somebody out there, and we don't need an affiliate link. We don't need anything. I just don't want to give my money to these people that hate the bones of me. And I think you shouldn't either. Okay? So that's exactly why we're here tonight. That's why we're congregated here. And I want to thank everybody. I know there's a lot of things you can do on your Sunday. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is hit that thumbs up once again. And we're going to talk about what each and every lady on this forum is doing. We're going to give you a backstory. Every good superhero movie has an origin story, okay? So, I mean, like in Nicole's case, she was born on Krypton. And she came over here in a flying saucer. They dropped her off. She leaves her cape in the closet, the whole 9 yards. Let's start with Nicole. Why don't you tell the people who don't know out there, and by the way, thanks. Before I get to you, Nicole, sorry. Real quick shout out, Ladies Farm. No Lane Bull, thank you. T. Paul. Ladies Farm, once again, Mrs. Hacks. Spags, Bobby Spags. That's what I'm talking about. Let's say Midwest, he's talking about Midwest Festival. We'll hopefully get to some of your questions. Monica, Arden, Bobert. Look, y'all, there's too many to list here, but I thank you all for checking us out. Once again, hit that thumbs up. Tell other people we're live because this is important stuff. Now, let me hand it all over to my compadre, Nicole. Why don't you tell them a little bit about you, what you do, where they can find you, and what you got for sale?
Well, my whole world changed one day when I decided to stop being my corporate self because I realized what I was focusing on was not all of our dogs just barked at once. That's kind of funny. Mine were going off too. I was focusing all of my effort on trying to change how the government ran. So I worked in public policy, and we would have success in one place and then lose ground everywhere else. And I realized if I just keep doing this, nothing changes in the world. And I was concerned. And so I stopped, and it was causing health problems for me. I stopped, and I had already started my podcast, Living Free in Tennessee, where I just talked about homesteading things because I was already on the homestead. I was canning a lot of what we grow here. I was learning how to butcher animals. And then I was on speed dial in my county for people I was canning my tomatoes and this problem came up. Should I eat it? Things like that. Or what should I do? Or what's the processing time for this? And I thought, well, I'll just start doing podcasts about these things. And then there's a whole podcast about how to make pickled beets or whatever the thing may be, how to get the squash bugs off your squash plants. Something I've learned since is a battle I lose a lot, but I keep trying, right? And from there, I found myself with no income but a deep pantry. And I was able to live off of what I had put up for a year while also producing new things on the homestead. And I realized that was like a huge savings account for me to have that. And so I started teaching people how to develop deep pantries. And along the way, because I love coffee, I started roasting coffee, and it's at hollerroast.com if you want to check it out, HOLLER roast.com. I started roasting coffee, and that was the thing. I tried selling eggs, roasting coffee. I teach processing classes. I tried a whole bunch of different things, and that was 5 years ago. And now what I do is the podcast, the coffee, and then I work on events like Self-Reliance Festival or food forest installations and that sort of thing. So it really came together, but I had to go wide before I could narrow back down on that one product and really hone in on that. And I think a lot of people talk about having the stability of going from your job to this kind of a lifestyle that we're all in now, where we're making our own futures. And yet almost everybody I know who ends up where we are ended up at some point saying, screw it, jumping in, both feet, I gotta sink or swim right now, because the only way I make this work is by putting my time into it. So sometimes I think when you find your passion, you go for your passion, and that's a good thing. And I know Gabby has a similar thing that she's done.
That's what I'm talking about. Before we kick it off to Gabby, I want to give another shout out, HK Life. My man Jacob Mentor up in here, my old foreman from way back, and along with his son Harvey. Tell Johnny I said hi too. Man, that's pretty cool to see everybody in here. People that I haven't seen for quite a while, for almost 3 years, I guess. But hey, thanks everybody for checking us out. Once again, hit that thumbs up. You're going to hear me like a broken record. And also go to freesteading.com, because a lot of this stuff, as this program unfolds, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about and why we ought to be supporting each other. And some of these platforms that are, and I ain't talking about Facebook and Twitter and all this other garbage out there, these people that honestly don't like us at all. This platform is run basically by agorists, or you could even say, and anarchy is not a bad word, y'all, just means the absence of government. People that don't want to be under that thumb, that's where we ought to be doing business. And by the way, they're going to be kicking off their the part where we can do business. It's right now mostly in beta phase. It's kicking off. You can go there, sign up. But some of the features aren't yet on. We're just basically kicking the tires right now, and then it's going to be off and running. And no, they're not paying me to say this. Not one person on here is paying me to say anything. But right there, you heard from the first person, Nicole, who we get our coffee from. And it's better. And I'm going to have her speak here in a little while why it's better than free trade. So a lot of you folks that go over to Whole Foods or wherever else you're getting your coffee and you're thinking you're doing it the best way possible, she's going to explain to you why the way she does it is even better. So she brought up Gabby a second ago. Gabby, my friend. This is one cool thing about YouTube, y'all. I met Matt and Gabby by complete accident on here. They popped up. I heard Matt talk about something that was very, very anarchist and very freedom oriented. And so it naturally drew me to him. I asked him to come out here for chicken processing, and we've been friends ever since. So, Gabby, tell everybody, give them your superhero origin story, because all you ladies are heroes in my book, and I feel lucky to know y'all.
Well, I know a lot of you guys are used to hearing Matt talk all the time, and he's definitely the more outspoken of the two of us. Someone I saw asked where he's at, so he's by trade a musician, so he is gigging right now. So he's busy playing his fiddle. But I guess so. For those who don't know, I'm married to Matt Hunley. He started the Sovereign Village Project at the beginning of the pandemic. And now he calls it Homestead for a living. So that's the new name for the YouTube channel. And basically, Matt and I started permaculture gardening on a couple of 1 acre lots. He kind of started first, and we were still dating at the time. And so I would come out every weekend and help him garden and fix up this very terrible mobile home he was living in. And he ended up flipping that, sold that, and we moved into a little tiny A-frame cabin right next to it, actually. That was also 1 acre. And so we started all over, built a garden there. And then from there, I've been saving for a long time. That's pretty much the only financial advice I'd ever really gotten, was to just save your money. And so I'd been saving for a long time, working, corporate jobs for marketing agencies, all sorts of things. sort of from a similar perspective that Nicole comes from. And I just put all of that into a 5-acre lot that I didn't really know what I was doing with. And I was just hoping Matt would stick with me and help me out. And he did. So that's great. So now we're on a 5-acre lot where we actually built our house. And we've started what I would more call a permaculture farm versus just gardening. And we're just really passionate about growing food. And so from a product perspective, I'm going to be honest and just say we're still really, we're experimenting and still trying to figure out a lot of different things, like what can we even get off of our property? What do we enjoy creating? You know, if you're going to sell a product, you want to enjoy creating that product and bringing it to life. And we're trying to figure out our market. And so this, past year really has just been a lot of experimenting. And we actually got a lot of value out of hearing John Willis speak at the Self-Reliance Festival, because he basically said something along the lines of, don't be afraid to run like limited runs on products, and to be okay with like not having to fill demand indefinitely. And so we kind of ran with that this summer, and we have done, sporadic CSA boxes that actually sold really well. We didn't see any really negative impact of not like having that consistency, which was nice. And so we're still experimenting with that. Baked goods, we do sell fertilized Americana and Cuckoo-Marron eggs. We also do rain barrel spigot kits. Matt has become pretty well versed in rainwater catchment because we've had to for our property because we do not have the blessing of having water. And so we've had to get really creative. And so that's a product we offer. And it was just born out of a solution that Matt had to make. And then outside of these products, well, we have another product that we're actually kind of launching and speaking about publicly for the first time tonight, but they're called comfrey tea bags, and I can get into the details of that later, but that's a new product that we're about to launch here. And then aside from that, we also have services. So Matt does homestead design for various sorts of properties. He'll do, small 1 acre, just backyards, or even less than 1 acre. And he's done even full-fledged self-sufficient communities. So he offers that. And then I actually quit my corporate job recently in April, I think. I think it was April this year, and just took my marketing business that I was doing on the side, and now I'm doing it full time. And so I'm offering marketing coaching to small businesses, and it's something I really want to spread to the homesteading community, because I think we could all really benefit from being able to market our products better and get them in front of people. And I think it's a skill that a lot of homesteaders need. So I offer that, and have been just experimenting with different ways of offering that service, which is just an important part of business. And I think I'm feel blessed to be a part of this community, to be surrounded by people like Billy and Nicole and Shelly and John Willis and all of these people who have much more experience than Matt and I do, but we pick up something new every day, every week, every month, and just it helps us really implement these things in our business. So I hope
that's what I'm talking about. We'll get back to your business here in a minute, and we'll have Michelle rounded out before we get to Shelly. But folks, take note. First of all, hit that thumbs up if you would. It helps us greatly in terms of getting. We're not going to get anything out of this monetarily. What I'm getting at when I say it helps us greatly, it's helping us get the word out and let everybody out there know that there is an off ramp. You just heard Nicole and Gabby, basically the same origin story. I started off as a joke, but really not so much. All of us have one. I worked for years in the trade, and this is my full-time gig by providing good value to other people out there, whether it's through the YouTube channel, whether it's through my podcast, or whether it's through some of the things we sell. Well, you just heard from both of them. They both came from a corporate world, and then found their little niche and then got off. In our last podcast, in fact, our very last podcast, we talked about some really good ideas for you. So you want to stick around here, y'all, because I'm going to repeat a lot of what I said there. It was also what I said with Matt and Gabby the other day when they interviewed me. So keep that in mind. All right, we're going to move on to Shelly right now. And then it's going to be a free-for-all to a certain extent after Michelle goes after Shelly. But, hey, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a battle royal, and I am all alone by myself.
Oh,
yeah. So this is going to be interesting. Well, I met Shelly a while back, y'all, just briefly. She saved my bacon. First time was at Gabby's festival.
Thank you,
You
Shelly.
literally save your bacon.
My bacon, literally. She and Randy, they went out there. We butchered this pig. Forgot that we were supposed to be cooking it, and I asked, "Hey, can y'all take this over, man?" They did a bang-up job out there, because there was no possible way I was going to be able to butcher this pig or process this pig. I don't want to offend anybody. There was no way it was going to happen without help, and they stepped right up. That was the first time, and then Randy made this stuff called pork belly candy, which, oh my goodness, yeah. It was like the talk of the town. Everybody brought like a potluck thing, and that was the first thing to go. And I got up there. I got to drink some of the juice when it was all said and done, or put some of the juice actually on something else I had. But second time she saved my bacon was at the Self-Reliance Festival. Me and William show up with a booth full of stuff, and it's me and him. And Shelly gets out there, and it was one of the funniest, honest comedy moments of my life, where she just kind of gets over there and says, okay, basically, she didn't say it this way, but it's the way I remember it. It was like, all right, you guys are coming in from boots. Just stand aside. I'll take care of this. Man, you talk about making silk purse out of a sow's ear, man. She had that table looking like Martha Stewart showed up. And we were talking about it the whole way, like, what are we going to do, man? We have no idea. We got this green tablecloth. We got a banner. Shelly basically went over there, made these stickers look like Picasso put them together. She saved our bacon twice, y'all. So she has an awesome gift for design. Selfless. Everybody here are the selfless, and that's my favorite kind of person, including her, including Michelle. What all these ladies have in common, and they probably wouldn't tell you, is that they're very selfless people. And they produce things that, to me, are extraordinary. Whether it's gatherings that we all congregate, we get there, we find out, and we feel a little bit less alone in this world, you dig? We go to places like that they provide, that they've done the legwork on, and we get to talk to somebody else who understands where we're coming from. We even get the opportunity to commiserate, or at least for a little while, but it's mostly a joyful gathering every single time you go. So, but they're all selfless people. So I want to get into Shelly right now, and somebody said something about rock stars. Yeah, they're all rock stars to me. Thanks, Kip.
Can I say something about Shelly real quick?
Yes.
Just because I didn't even realize she was going to be on tonight until like 10 minutes before. And we just met this morning because she's on the planning committee for the Back to the Land Festival. And I will second her organization skills. I have a hard time asking people for help. I was always that kid in school who got stuck doing the group projects, you know. And Shelly, I just ask her to do something and she just goes above and beyond. And is so organized, and just this year Matt and I will not be running around like chickens with our heads cut off because of Shelly.
Not because of me, but it's because of the whole team. But yeah, you all don't need to do this by yourself.
Well, that's what I'm getting back to, folks. And grab her soap real quick, honey. In terms of selflessness, that's what every last one of these. I mean, Nicole knows when me and John, when we're going to be on the same podcast or interview, whenever we're in this forum, she knows we're a couple of nincompoops when it comes to tech. So, and she kind of walks us through it. I mean, we would have nowhere near the success we had in a lot of the communication that we're doing if it weren't for Nicole. But it is cool. It's like the fingers of your hand, y'all. So we got one person that may be a thumb. Another person is the middle finger. Okay, that would be John. And then we got somebody that's the index finger. But honestly, I mean, you look at, she sent this through the mail the other day. I'm going to let her talk more about this. Maybe I'll turn it right side up. Y'all, I'm telling you, This is the best soap I ever used in my life, and this is just
and
one flavor.
It's the best soap, and it smells the best, and it looks the best too.
We
It's
get,
very pretty.
honey, roll that thing up in there because this here is the one I like. Actually,
Hickory Ridge.
sexy beast. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, the first batch she sent us a bottle of soap, and this is no joke. William, no, a bunch of them.
Oh,
she sent a box of soap. William snatches the first one out of the box called Sexy Beast, and runs upstairs. Starts. I mean, man, he's went through. I mean, he goes through so much toilet paper, you swear he's got teeth in his butt. Now he's going through so much soap that I don't know what's going on up there, man. But I don't know what he's doing. But honestly, he's going through all this soap right now. And so, Shelly, we're going to kick it all over to you, your origin story, and it's been a joy to get to know you.
Well, I guess like the origin story would be I'm in education. I used to be a public school teacher, and now I am a corporate trainer. And it's just I say corporate trainer. It's for a privately owned. We build conveyors, and it's just a privately owned company. About 100 people work there. And Randy is a truck driver. For years and years and years, I had wanted to be a homesteader. I actually started watching on YouTube. Y'all know Becky's Homestead? She has like chickens and stuff. It's a lady in Florida. That's like the first thing that I guess kind of the first exposure that I had gotten to like just a homestead lifestyle or whatever. And then I had a friend that I worked with and another friend that I went to church with that started talking about permaculture. So fast forward, I would talk to Randy about homesteading and all that kind of thing. And he's like, I just don't know about that. And, you know, it's not going to work unless both of you are on board with it, right? So just kind of let it go. And then I came home, you know, like I think I want to say it was like 2018. I came home with 2 piglets that I got from a guy that I worked with. And he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like building a pen in the backyard and all this kind of thing. And I still wasn't even, I wasn't very good at gardening. I wasn't good at growing stuff or whatever. And, but you know, like, I'm like, I can raise animals. I know animals, you know? And so, I bring home these piglets, and then he actually, kind of took that over. He loves messing with our pigs now. That's kind of his thing. But then when 2020 rolled around, I came home from work one day and he was building a chicken coop in our backyard. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, you know, there's some craziness going on in the world and I just don't know about this mess anymore. And so we ended up with chickens and all that. And then the property that we have now, it was really kind of you know, I kind of, at this point in my life, which I'm like 52. So at this point in my life, you can't help but look back over your life and be like, you can see where, you know, whatever your belief system is, but you can see where God just like moves you in different directions and different things happen and puts different people in your life and all that kind of thing. And that's kind of how this property happened. So now here we are, we have 14 and a half acres. And we've been here a little bit over a year and a half. We both still work our jobs. Hopefully, you know, we're on track to pay off more debt and take care of that stuff. But about a year ago, I started making soap because I've just kind of been getting into this thing of what are some things in my house that I can eliminate, that I don't have to go to the store to buy, you know, that kind of thing, just doing it on my own or whatever. And it really kind of started out with like medicinal type stuff and not having to worry about relying on stores or pharmacies or whatever to get things that you need that way. But I started looking into soap recipes. So I've been making soap for probably about a year. The first few batches, oh, they were scary. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It was some scary stuff. But around Christmas, I was getting pretty good at it, and I was able to, we have 5 daughters. I gave our daughters soap for Christmas, and some friends, I gave them soap. And then I just kept like I just kept at it, just, trying different things and different additives and, like different types of clays, just different things to make it better. I finally have found a recipe that I really like. And so I just started giving soap to people and being like, "Hey, will you try this and just tell me what you think about it? Just give me some feedback." And a lot of people came back and they just really liked it. And I thought, I think I can do something with this because I like being creative. And I like making, like, one of my hobbies is making quilts. And I've actually worked in sewing factories before, and I do not. People have asked me to make quilts, and like pay me to do that, and I don't have any interest in that because I love making quilts. I don't want my job to be making quilts. You know what I'm saying? And so there's like, it's just a creative outlet for me to be able to do that, and it's not. It is time consuming. I'm not going to say it's not time consuming, but I can do it pretty quickly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's where we're at with the soap.
Well, how do we order your soap? Do you have a website?
I do. It's 2oldcrowshomestead.com. So TWO old CROWS homestead. And all of that is on there. My daughters, two of my daughters, Samantha and Jessica. Jessica makes handmade jewelry and Samantha makes wax melts. And so that's why you see the Hickory Ridge handmade, Hickory Ridge handmade treasures, because their stuff is on our website as well. So, but you can find all of those things on there, and yeah.
I want to kind of lean into, look, folks, what I'm getting at here, especially with the ladies out there, because I always think there should be a ladies' night, because a lot of guys that's what you see the most of in this realm when we talk about this sort of thing. And we're going to go to Michelle here in a minute, and she's going to maybe cover a couple of things. Don't fidget, honey. It's okay. You're among friends. It's all right. So, yeah, she always gets a little bit nervous in this stuff, but she was in there dropping tactical nukes of information just a little while ago. But folks, I'm going to cut to the chase right off, and I'm going to tell you, same thing I said in the podcast the other day. Walk around your kitchen. Let's say you're at a corporate job. Let's say you're working in a factory. Let's say you're in construction, whatever the case may be. Let's say you just hate exactly what you're doing. You're doing it because you need to put bread on the table. And you're wondering, how do you make that transition? Because I'm going to ask Shelly also to cover some of the trepidation that she had, and also the same with Nicole when you start this, because that's normal. When you start something you've never done before, completely normal. But I want you to walk around your house. If you're thinking, well, I don't have any ideas, I don't know what I can do. Well, have you ever thought about maybe there might be a better toothpaste out there? What about a new toothbrush? Maybe there's some shampoo that, used to be your great grandma's recipe. Maybe you got some Soul Glow for some of the folks out there. I know my soil brothers over there, Black's Tropical Homestead. They were on here a minute ago. Check them out. Maybe you look at anything. Do you make better shoelaces, for crying out loud? I even talked in the past recently, you got bamboo growing everywhere. You thought about making any bamboo toothpicks? How about chopsticks? Maybe you can make some tomato cages out of it. So many options you have out there that you can do a business. In fact, that's part of the biggest reason we're congregated tonight is to talk about that very thing. So if you think, oh, well, I don't have any ideas, walk around your place right now. If there's something that gives you passion that maybe you might be able to make it better, can you make a better toothbrush? I mean, really, that simple. Can you make a loofah? You can sell these things. There's never been a better time than right now to get yourself into business if that's what you want to do. If you love your day job, more power to you. But if you hate working for the powers that shouldn't be, well, here's you're talking to people right now that are on the off-ramp, that are working their way to being on the off-ramp. So I'm going to run it all over to my homestead, honey. And you were talking about something you heard tonight that you thought might be of value.
Well, let me just start I just want to give maybe another approach to this, because how we started originally with the comfrey cuttings and also the bone sauce. Those were our two first products, and the comfrey cuttings were because people were asking us if we sold it. So we were like, oh yeah, well, maybe we should start selling it because we had plenty to sell. And the bone sauce was because we were having problems with deer. So you worked on the recipe until you came up with one. But we had a couple problems. Like the bone sauce was because we had a problem and we had to figure out how to solve the problem. And that's one of the business podcasts I listen to. That's what he says to do, is solve people's problems for them also. So that's another approach to coming up with some products.
And that's the Real AF podcast,
Right.
right? Right. And he had the CEO project or something like that.
He had the MF CEO project. It was a business one. His current one focuses on business and current events also. But it's a really good podcast.
Somebody wrote in the comments, were the black shirts coordinated? No, they weren't.
That's all I have is black shirts.
I just wear black shirts. Yeah.
If you want me to wear your shirt, it's got to be black, y'all.
I drink a lot of coffee, and when you spill it down your shirt, it does not show on the black shirt. So,
And that's what I'm talking about. I'm dressing for a funeral half the time, and I'm hoping it's not the death of this country. So before we kind of move on, Shelly, I want you to real quick, because I think this is going to be very helpful. If you're willing to share this part, the trepidation that you had, and Nicole, I know you can relate to it as well, but I want to go to you first, Shelly. You had deep concerns about doing this. This is an opportunity to lay yourself bare in front of a couple of hundred people, your closest friends.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to talk about the nervousness you had about actually sending this stuff off to.
Well, to be honest, my perception of how this works is that a lot of times when people send you stuff, like, their business picks up. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that kind of scared me a little bit because, not having, like, I have a supply of soap in there. And I have soap that's ready to go out the door. I have soap that's curing. I have soap that's you have to, like, heat it up after you put it in a block or whatever. But I didn't. I just felt like I didn't have enough. And I kept thinking, well, if I can get to this mark and have this supply, then I'll be ready. And I know when I was talking to you about that, one of the things you said, you were talking about what John Willis said about don't let that stop you from doing, not having or not thinking that you have enough. Don't let that stop you from doing what you're doing. And just, like my personality, if I'm kind of a perfectionist a little bit. And that, like when you're in school or going to, like when I was in college, getting my teaching degree or whatever, that meant that I got good grades. And if I didn't get good grades, that just wasn't something, it just made me crazy. Homesteading has taught me that if I just sit and wait for that prime opportunity to have, for everything to be lined up, for all the stars to be lined up or whatever, then I'm going to be waiting for a long time and nothing's going to happen. So it's really taught me to kind of let that go and not be that person that has to have all of her ducks in a row to make sure that everything, goes off without a hitch. If I have some hitches, then I'll deal with them along the way or whatever. But, talking to you really kind of helped to ease my mind about that, because I really, I don't know. I was really getting in my head about how all of this works. So it was a little bit scary, but I'm just ready to jump in. It's all good.
That's what I'm talking about. Nicole, I know you, I know your story better than most. It wasn't an easy ride for you either. I mean, you didn't just go in the coffee business and it blew up overnight. You had some serious hiccups along the way too, right?
I think everybody does who goes into that. I mean, first of all, I want to say to Shelly that you have a really good story to tell when you sell out of soap and people are on your waiting list. That is the best marketing opportunity ever. And I think a lot of people worry about, can I produce to demand? And if you have so much demand that you're out, that's a great problem to have. That's way better than the other problem where you have all the inventory and it's not selling. So with the coffee, I started at farmers markets and I was roasting a half a pound at a time. which is not very much coffee. So, 20 minutes per batch, whether it's half a pound or 100 pounds, depending on the size of your roaster, it takes about the same amount of time to roast coffee and cool it. And I was just doing it for fun. And I was developing great network in my area and getting to know the farmers here and selling my extra heirloom tomatoes or whatever. And then when I decided to stop working at the nonprofit I had founded, I realized I needed to make money somehow. And so I just sort of in passing started mentioning that I had coffee for sale, and I was branded as the Holler Homestead, which is the name of my place. It's the Holler Homestead. But it was Holler Roast Coffee. So then people would get really confused about where to go to buy the coffee online. Do I go to the Holler Homestead? And finally, I just bought Holler Roast. So up until that point, I was maybe making $200 a month on this. So I don't know about you, but I'm not currently at a place where my expenses are so low that I can live it on $200 a month. I do still have a mortgage payment, for example, which is more than $200 a month. And I was going on Jack Spirko's show. It's like, whoa, I got this interview on Jack Spirko's show. I get to talk about starting coffee and using it as a side hustle. This is going to be awesome. Same thing as Shelly. What do I do? What if it sells? How do I keep up with demand? I had this tiny little roaster, and I thought, I know. I will do a Kickstarter, and I will launch it on Jack Spirko's show, and it will be to get a commercial-sized roaster. And then I will pre-sell the orders, and they will expect not to get them for a few months so that I have time to produce it. And then I thought, well, what about the website? I guess I better build a website. So the morning of the show, I'm getting interviewed at 1:30. I'm building this website, hollerroast.com, as fast as I can. And I barely got it so the shopping cart was working. It looked like crap. Launched the Kickstarter, launched the website. My sales doubled just on the website at that point. And then I exceeded the Kickstarter, and it was because even though I was kind of afraid, I was willing to put something out there. And I think that's the thing that's important when you when you go from sort of a normie, I'm going to say the normie mindset of working a job and saving and doing really well. And then maybe in the last 10 years of your life, you get to retire and go travel the world. When you switch from that to a homesteading mindset, you're looking at what around me has value. How can I make value? What do I like to do? And how can I get value from that so that I either don't have to spend as much or I can make some income? And I do meat chickens every year, right? And I know how to process a chicken. So I was like, well, how do I turn this into value? How do I sell these chickens? I know, I'll do a processing class. You go home with your chicken. And then I made a really cool little book for reference that people can go home with, had it laid out nicely, and people now pay me for a class. Well, that helps offset some of the expense of the chicken. So when you have that mindset, it naturally flows into a soap business or, pointing the wrong way, or the comfrey tea bags, which I'm excited to hear about, or any of these other things that come up, the bone sauce, all of that. You just start seeing the value, and you're like, well, I guess I better start selling this because people love it.
That's what I'm talking about. Michelle, you said you heard something from, there was we're going to go to Gabby here in a second, and we're going to talk. See, this is exactly what I was hoping would happen, folks. Remember, if you're just coming in, once again, hit that thumbs up. You just heard, I am hoping that by hearing their stories, and ours too, and like I said, if you want to hear the full extent of this, you're going to have to check out the Permaculture Pimpcast, because it isn't about my story tonight. It's about theirs. And I'm just kind of guiding traffic along the way. But this is one of the easiest conversations you could ever have, because number one, I already know them. And number two, I already can relate with everything that's been said so far. You have this fear and trepidation because so many of us have been raised within this narrow band of what we think life expects from us. You go to work, you get this good job, you move on to it. After a while, you get that brass ring, you ride off to the sunset. What they told you was the American dream, which, as we now know, has become the American nightmare. And it seemed absurd, at least to me, and I know to her too, to sit here and wait until I'm moving around with a walker before I decide to live the life I think I want to live. And for us, it doesn't, our life doesn't surround itself around high expenses. You know, we have a high quality, low consumption life, which is exactly what we designed, exactly what we work. So we don't require much, but we also give away a fair amount too. So folks, what I want you to take away, if any of you out there, because there's a lot of you that are hitting me up in emails and otherwise, and you're a little nervous to ask in some of these videos, this is why we're talking tonight, and especially ladies out there, where you know you may be in some bad circumstances. A lot of people are right now. Maybe you got some, you know, you thought you were going to wind up with the guy of your dreams, and he ran off with a go-go dancer, leaving you with 6 kids. I mean, whatever the case may be, you may have to go in there and work this 9 to 5 right now. But there's no reason you can't be finding a way, an off ramp, just like you heard every last one of them here. This isn't a war you win in miles, you win it in inches. And sometimes you gain a little bit of ground, and then later on you gain a little bit more. But Michelle, before we go into Gabby, you said you were talking about a post you saw today from.
Yeah, there was a post on it was Billy had run into Tractor Supply real quick, and I got on Instagram, and it was actually the wife of Andy Frisella, who is his business podcast is the one I listen to, and she made a post about women and about how these girls are getting all of their what they think that they should be from pop culture. And she was like calling on all of these women to become there. She was basically like, we need to step up and be better role models, because the role models, the way these girls think that they should act is coming from all the wrong places. And so I can't think of a better group of women right here that are excellent role models for a lot of these young girls out there.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And this is exactly why we're congregated right now. So hit that thumbs up. Holla if you hear me, y'all. So we're going to move on to Gabby here. And she's about, if you've heard in every last one of them, at least with Gabby and especially Nicole, you're finding out that they put their toe in the water in a bunch of different enterprises. And I think Nicole said it best, where she started off with a shotgun blast, and now she's on a rifle bullet. You dig? So she's putting a lot out there to figure out what works best for us. We've done essential, because I've had businesses over the years, and we've done that over and over and over again. But finally, we found ourselves in business doing something that we absolutely positively love. And so, Gabby, I'm going to walk off here in a minute, and Nicole, she understands directing traffic very well. I'm going to go get a light, so it doesn't look like I'm Casper the Friendly Ghost out here. I'm going to put a light up over here. I'm going to go grab that. And you ladies talk among yourselves. They don't want to see me on here anyway. All of y'all are much better looking than I could ever be. So despite the fact that I'm down 15 pounds so far, Nicole. Damn. That's right. By the time that's all right. I'm down 15, and I'm putting on some. I may have messed up today. We went to the Biltmore. Yeah, we went to the Biltmore, and I probably ate a couple of things. So I'm going to call today a cheat day. This is one of the days a little bit short. But hey, thanks, Mandy. Thanks, Farmers Unlimited. Thanks, everybody. Tell them what we're doing right now and the wonderful ladies we're on here with. Gabby, I'm going to run and go get this light, but I want you to tell them the product you have going on, what it's meant to do, and how people can get it. And then we're going to have this free-for-all that I said we were going to have about 10 minutes ago. So I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, so through our farm, so hollowtopfarms.com is where we sell most of our physical products versus our services. We like I mentioned that we learned from John Willis. We've done the testing, we've done the product testing. We've got all of the materials and we're ready to go. But we only have a limited run of 50 for this product. And then we're going to see how much more we can do from there. Because as I said earlier, we're still learning what we can get out of off of our land. And it's really important to us that everything that's in this product is from our land, or most things. And so what this product is it's called Comfrey Tea Bags. And I am going to give a shout out to Billy because he did kind of bring it to our attention. We kind of already we had been seeing the fertilizer shortages, and Matt and I were very well aware of them. And, we were doing this ourselves on our own property. And Billy mentioned something to us, and we were like, Billy's never steered us wrong. So we'll put everything into this. And so we spent all summer, all spring testing and putting all the elements together for these comfrey tea bags. So basically they're a living fertilizer solution, kind of designed to, kickstart your soil life and just continuously improve garden yields. And so basically these comfrey tea bags, which they're going to look like actual tea bags. We have them up on the site. We don't have a picture yet, so forgive us for that. Because similarly to Nicole, I put this product page up today. So, but they're going to look like, a tea bag, but bigger and not for drinking. So they contain our farm's proprietary blend of 3 things. So dynamic accumulating plants and nitrogen fixers like comfrey, alfalfa, legume roots. Also, the second thing is mycorrhizal fungi and just beneficial bacteria that will help colonize your soil and begin creating a web of life that kind of forms, those symbiotic relationships with your plant roots. And the intent of putting that into this tea bag is that it will create more resilient, productive, and healthy plants. And then the third thing is what Matt came up with, and I really love this bit of marketing, but it's called Tennessee Terra. And it's a biochar blend steeped in 4-year aged compost tea, loaded with microbes, minerals, nutrients that will just get gradually released into your soil. And so how the comfrey tea bag works is you just steep it for a day, or you can go longer to make the solution stronger, obviously. But you can steep it for a day or longer in a 5-gallon bucket of water, and then just apply that water to your soil. And so just some of the main highlights: it's free of herbicides, pesticides, made with organic materials from our permaculture farm. It's a great way for preppers to store fertilizer in a condensed and lightweight form. That can be reused, though it will obviously decrease the potency over time. And the entire tea bag is biodegradable as well. And so for us, how we've been using it, we use about 2 to 3 bags for each planting for our family's garden. And like I said, a limited run of 50, because we're just throwing the dart at the target, I guess, here and giving it a go. And so, yeah, does anyone have any questions?
I mean, how brilliant is that, y'all? This is exactly what we're talking about. Okay, so we're told we got a fertilizer shortage right now. You dig? We've been going on this for months. So just like that, they've come up with a way to solve problems using materials at their own farm. So all the people out there that are blowing me up in the email saying, hey, I don't have a good business idea. Well, they got one by looking at the landscape around you. You know what? Do you have a freeze dryer? Let me ask you this. Okay, a lot of us on here are also into preparedness. Do you have a freeze dryer? Because I got news for you. One of the events that we went to in South Carolina, the food trucks didn't show up. You know who sold out? The dude with the freeze-dried food. He sold out because people were as hungry as a runaway slave out there. There wasn't nothing to eat, but because we're all in the company of people we love and love to be around, I mean, they're like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm just going to go ahead and eat this. And, this guy sold out. I mean, he made a killing down there. But in Gabby's, what they have going on there is a fantastic idea. It truly is. And it's the answer to so many people's problems right now. If you could take something as simple as a tea bag, mix it up like you're talking, Gabby, you could probably dump it in the tea bag all the way out there because it's going to biodegrade.
Mm-hmm.
And you got this sticky icky in there in the form of comfrey. Wait, maybe that doesn't mean what I think or what I thought it mean, I guess. Anyway, you got this stuff in the form of comfrey and all these other wonderful things in there. What a brilliant idea. So once again, tell folks how they can find you. And also, I'm going to encourage everybody on here and everybody out there watching this to go to freesteading.com. Like I said, it's not long before they're going to open up the window in which we can start doing business over there. And the beauty about a site like that is not only do you have access to all the people that maybe followed me over there, all the people that followed Nicole over there, all the people that followed Shelly over there, all the people that followed Gabby over there. But guess what? There's other homesteaders over there. There's other people in the preparedness all in there. And then we're going to be able to do business. If you want to transact these things in crypto in the future, they have a wallet for that. But this thing is taken off, and it's the answer to so many different things where all of us are saying, where do I go to find out where the next event's going to be? Where do I go to find comfrey tea bags? Where do I go to buy soap? Where do I go to get coffee? Where do I go to get bone sauce? Where do I go to get comfrey? You dig? I mean, rice knives, you name it. It doesn't matter. We're all trying to move over there, and I'm going to talk these three ladies, hopefully, into going over there, starting up a profile, because that's where we need to be, because we have access to the audience and to each other all over there, and so does everybody out here in the sound of my voice. So, Nicole, I want to go back to you. I want you to speak to, if you can, specifically to the women out there who are thinking that this is going to be tough. It is going to be tough because it's something you never did before. Is there anything you could offer, having been at this game for a while, been in this business game for a while, having started from the beginning and the ground up? I mean, what expectations and what relief can you offer them that are thinking about doing this, that want to get away from whatever their job they're doing? Maybe they're working at a Circle K. What can you offer them in terms of encouragement moving forward?
So if your life looks like this, you feel helpless every day, or every time your boss asks you to work late and you realize you can't say no or you'll be fired, or you feel like you cannot walk away from your job because bills are so high that you have to go there to pay those bills, because if you don't go to the job and you start something new and then you don't pay the bills, you're out of the house and you have kids to support, and that just makes you feel frustration. Or you're so tired at the end of every day because you've had to deal with a bunch of stuff you didn't want to deal with. If you're feeling that way, I describe that as your life is being lived for you by somebody else. Somebody else is making the choices about your life because of the situation you're in. And that's a hard thing to face. But if you face it and start talking to yourself in a different way than all of those things I've said, and asking, how can I do one thing that changes this? How can I do one thing that brings in a little extra, and then not depend on that extra? Put that extra aside, reinvest that into that same thing. And if you start seeing your job, which sometimes, yes, means you work late because you're going to lose it and you don't want to lose it yet, start seeing that as the means by which you are able to be at the start line for something different and for building a life you want to live in the way you want to live it. If you change that perspective, I know it sounds like I'm talking magic here, but that change in perspective helps you see opportunities. And then it's not as scary to take the first one. I think we tell ourselves a lot of negative stories. And when we run ideas by friends who are also having their lives lived for them, who also feel helpless, who also feel like they don't have any control, they have a tendency to point out everything wrong with your idea. Like, I saw somebody in the comments asking how to make money on things made from goat's milk that are legal to sell. I don't know what state you're in, but in a lot of states, there are cottage food laws that allow you to sell a herd share and sell that milk. And if that's not your state, I know Jack Spirko sold goat milk that was raw in West Virginia as a soil amendment, and it was the freshest soil amendment that you could ever had, and they recommended that you keep it in the refrigerator until you used it. Okay, so it's when you start asking, how can I do this, that you start saying, okay, how can I sell goat cheese that I make? Because I make a pretty darn good feta, but I'm pretty sure the USDA does not want me to do this. Well, Can I start some sort of a cooperative that allows you to have that? Does the herd share apply to that? Is anybody going to even notice? That's another question. How much risk are you willing to take? If you don't start, you never get somewhere. So you might as well start something and fall on your face a couple of times and stand up again, because that's better than feeling like my life is being lived for me. At least I've tried something now. And what happens when you start trying things is some things work and some things don't. And you get way better at letting the don't roll off your back. We've been taught growing up, and this is not a woman thing, I don't think, but we've been taught that we're supposed to do everything right from the beginning. Nobody does everything right from the beginning.
Right.
And the sooner we let go of that baggage, the happier we're all going to be.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, ladies, I got a little bit of an audible here. It's getting dark out here, so we can keep going because I'd really love to continue this conversation, but I got to go put these chickens up and get this bull squared away. Do y'all want to talk among yourselves? And so we can have a woman man hate session while I'm not here. No, I'm kidding.
We're not those kind of people.
Nicole, do you mind directing traffic for a little
Sure,
bit?
fine.
Okay, I'm going to go down and get these animals squared away. Nicole is more than capable than me, as you're going to find out. See y'all in a minute.
I actually want to hear about women who do things that men usually do. So let's talk about your welding, Michelle. Do you know how to weld? Tell us about that.
Well, I had a GI Bill to use up, so I was trying to figure out what to do. I absolutely did not want to go sit down in a classroom again because I had enough of that. And as a matter of fact, I started working on my graduate degree in agroforestry, and it was just me sitting there reading papers and then having to write about those papers. And I just couldn't do that. That's not what I wanted to do. So I was like, well, I could do one of the trades. What should I do? And Billy and William were like, well, you should go to welding school because we need welding on the farm. So that would be a great thing to do. So we were living in Texas, and I went to the local community college, and I was pretty nervous about it because I just didn't know I just wasn't sure how they were going to take me. So I was pretty nervous about it. I went, and everybody was great. I mean, they were excited about a female being there. And I learned a lot, and I really love it. And it's a good skill to have. And speaking of that, we were all there. It was during class one day, and people can bring stuff by to have it like fixed or repaired. And so there was this older couple that came by, that brought by something they needed it fixed. And the lady, she was an older lady, and she came up to me and she said, I want to ask you, she says, I have a granddaughter that really wants to weld, and her dad is telling her, no, you don't need to do this. You need to go find something else to do. She says, what would you say to that? And I was like, if she wants to weld, she needs to do it. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I didn't know what I was going to do because I knew college was not for me. I knew I wasn't going to college. So I was like, well, what are my options? I don't even know. If I would have had something like the trades or something like that, but I didn't even, it wasn't even an option back then. So like for women to know that these things are out there and that they can do them, I think it's so important, especially for the younger girls who don't want to go to cosmetology school or your traditional 4-year college. So
Yeah, I think your point earlier about women needing different role models sometimes. I am not very in touch with pop culture, so I don't know. I had the benefit of being raised by parents who who are great and where they're like, be what you want to be. We don't care. Right. I think that's the thing we can be for other women, because a lot of what you see is sort of some jealousies that come up. But I already know the four of you, we can sit down and that's not a thing.
Right.
Like I'm gonna promote Gabby's event, Back to the Land Festival, which was a great event last year, and it's going to be 4x that this year for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do events too in the same state, and she promotes my event. And I think that mindset is what we need to encourage in the community. It's not just buying each other's proper stuff, right? The products that we make, but what about cross promoting everybody's things? And because there are so many people right now who just realized I need to take care of myself, and I don't have the faintest, foggiest notion how to do that. And we're all in this. We have, we may not be perfect at it, but we can show you how to get started, and that's better than doing nothing and being scared.
Well, and that's one of the things that when you were talking a little bit ago, or Nicole, I was thinking, if you're wanting to get into this, if you're wanting to, like do something, find something, some kind of product or whatever with your property or your homestead or whatever, the very first thing, the best thing to do is to get connected. Like sitting at home and watching YouTube channels or whatever, and I think we like saw each other there first or something like that. But sitting at home and watching that and thinking that's the life that you want to have, that's not doing it. I mean, you need to go and meet the people. You need to go do the things. Go to the Back to the Land Festival. Go to the Self-Reliance Festival. I remember Randy and I went to the Self-Reliance Festival in June, and one of the things, there was a lady there. It was like one of those Q&A times, and this lady was talking about building community, or wanting to build community in her state. And Nicole's up there, and she's like, does anybody else live in such and such state? And like 5 people raised their hand, and she's like, there's your community, and somebody else made the comment about, if you don't know who your neighbors are, like if you don't know the people who are like right in proximity to you, then don't come here complaining about not being able to find community, because at the very least, you need to know who the crazy people are who are living out there by you, right? So, getting plugged in and coming to these things, even if you're like, because it's kind of strange. I mean, I feel like I'm an introvert, but I have like extrovert moments or whatever. But like when I get around big crowds or whatever, if I don't know somebody, I am not that person that will walk up to you and start talking to you, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm weird like that. But coming to these homesteading festivals and stuff like that, I have met so many amazing people, and thank God they came up and talked to me first, because I mean, it's just, there's so many awesome people out there to get plugged into, and just to know and make connections with and all that stuff, and it will help you so much, because eventually you're going to find that person that you get connected to that will help you do what you want to do. And, it's just, you got to go out there. You got to go meet people and who are doing what you're doing, because like Nicole said, there's plenty of people that's going to be out there telling you what you're doing wrong, or
that it's illegal. Even if it's not illegal, they're going to tell you it's illegal.
Right. Or that it won't work, or you can't, you can't raise your own food. You can't not go to the grocery store. Well, I'm here to tell you, I only go to the grocery store maybe once every 6 weeks. I can not go to the grocery store. So, you can do this, but get around people who, if that's the life you want to live, find those people who are living that life successfully and be around them.
That's actually what you guys are talking about, is exactly why we started the Back to the Land Festival, and also why Matt actually ended up changing the title of his YouTube channel, which I know it's very hard to find him now because of it, and we're trying to figure that out. But it was a philosophical reason that we changed that, and it was because we learned, he started it off thinking, we all need to just find a group of people and start a self-sufficient community, and then he quickly realized how impractical that is for the most part. And also we realized when we started being, open and we started talking to others about the weird lifestyle that we were practicing, we actually attracted a lot more people locally, and we made friends with people who are our neighbors, even though maybe they weren't, in the same space as we were, and they weren't making these kind of drastic steps that we were making. I can count on my hand now in the past year, at least 4 or 5 people that have started, they have 2 or 3 chickens in their backyard. And I know it's because we talked to them and they saw us doing it, and we were role models for them. And I think for us, that's right now, aside from, starting our products and everything, Matt and I are just very locally focused as well too. And especially because most of us who are living this lifestyle, we live in rural areas, and we know the problems with rural areas. We're food deserts. We don't have access to nutritious food, nor do we have access to the education around it. And so, with things like the Back to the Land Festival, we actually took the plunge and made that a nonprofit, and we want to use it as a vehicle to actually create those solutions in our own community, because it's great for us to be doing it on our homestead, but our homesteads are mostly private, right? And we can only impact so many people by talking to them. So what we do with the Back to Land Festival, and what I think is a really unique part of it, is that we do a community service project on the last day. It's optional. People don't have to go to it, but we were really surprised by the amount of people who came to it last year. And we still, we did the community project last year. We did raised beds at a church just around the corner from where we live, and they're still there, and they're still growing food. They've already planted fall crops for this year. And you guys did that. The people who came to the festival did that. And we get to see that every day. And this year we're going to do a tree planting guild class at a community center in kind of poor part of the community. And we're going to use that through our nonprofit as a place of education, where now we can do demonstrations there. We can have classes there. We can cook things for people there. There's just so much we can do. And I think part of, also starting a business for Matt and I is putting good out into the world any way we can. If we're going to benefit from it, we want other people to benefit from it too. And so I think the community aspect of your businesses is important too.
Yeah, I read an article today, and it was somebody wrote a book, and it was a journalist who had been invited out to a meeting with billionaires to talk about cutting edge technology. Mm-hmm. And what they really talked to him about was bunker systems that they have built that are very complex, and how they were getting his advice on how to use technology to survive when everything breaks down in the world. And he talked about that, he was like, well, that's a terrible mindset to have, or an attitude to have. And then he pivots to a guy who is identified, the same problem we all see with the food system, which is that it's very fragile. If anything goes wrong anywhere in the system, you have shortages, rolling shortages that can go on for months, and hungry people become violent very quickly. So that's why we're all scared, right? Because we are looking at this fragile system, and we are looking at weather events and all sorts of things going on, and it freaks us out. And so the first instinct is go to your homestead, right? And start growing food. He wants to put together networks on a big scale. So he's a big CEO thinker type, networks of sustainable farms that all communicate with each other more bottom up rather than top down of the system. And I'm reading this article thinking, that's what we're all working on, right?
That's what we do.
Why don't we know he exists, right? It's like we need more cross-pollination with each other because when there are problems in the fragile system, the only way we get past those problems is with what we have on hand. And if we have networks and we know, the beef is bad in Texas this year, but it's good in Tennessee this year, we have a way to help. And it doesn't have to always be exactly in our backyards. There's a reason that we trade with each other across distance. And that reason is that sometimes a tornado or a hurricane hits and wipes out everything. And basically the food we're producing somewhere else needs to go to the areas where the disasters are. And that's something we can't ignore. But I just thought I'd share that random thing. So I spun off on a tangent.
Maybe he needs to get plugged into freesteading.com.
Freesteading.com.
Yeah. I've often thought, because I see a lot of people commenting like, we have convenience addictions and things like that, which is true. We are a society that has grown accustomed to that sort of luxury. But I've been really giving a lot of thought to it recently. Like our local farmers market just has such low attendance. But there's so many people there who are great at growing stuff. They just excel at it. They have so much abundance. And it really it breaks my heart to see that they're not selling out of things. And that they feel like the farmers market is their only avenue to sell. And so just a pet project of Matt's and I know it's a local thing too, but how can there be that many people who are so good at growing food in the same place as there are so many people who don't have access to healthy food? And how can these two realities occur in the same place? There has to be a way to get these people together, and then to create a service or, a location where we can put those two things together. And I don't know, that's just my random tangent because it's just something that's always on my mind. But that's what we're talking about with this whole live tonight, is seeing these problems and trying to find solutions. And when you really just start looking at your life that way, the product ideas, the service ideas, they'll drive you nuts. You'll probably wake up in the middle of the night and you need a notepad next to your bed. Open your note app and have crazy ramblings like Matt and I do. But they really will start thanking.
Well, that just reminds me of an idea and that I had that I never did that I'm going to say, because if somebody out there is like, I'm not growing food. I'm not ready to start growing food and I want to be involved, but I don't know what to do. This was my idea. I used to go to the farmer's market before, because I took while I was growing hollow roast for a few years, I stopped growing as much food. I would go to the farmer's market every week as my grocery store trip. And I would go through and buy a collection of things. And then I would cook said things for a week. So what if you have that skill, what if you went through the farmer's market and you sold shares from the market? So you had deals with the farmers where you deliver boxes to people with what they can cook that week from the box. And this because a lot of people don't even know where to start with an appropriate amount of how many vegetables do we really eat a week? How do I prepare them? What spices are good? Can we make it more convenient? Because for me, it seems very convenient to cook from scratch and from all of these ingredients, but that's because I've been doing it for a decade and a half, right? That's the barrier. Like, what do I do with this bell pepper? I don't know. And there's an eggplant. I've never even seen an eggplant before with skin on it. I don't even know.
We've gotten that feedback too, Nicole, is like from people who want to see, like, okay, you grew all this stuff. Now what do you do with it? Like, show us what to do with it. So my answer most of the time is chop it up and throw it in the oven and roast it. But I mean, generally, I know you can't do that with everything, but that's my favorite way to cook vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, I see Fed Up Patriot says I can't get to the farmer's market. Yeah, somebody just delivers your box and you pay them extra for that. Done.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah,
absolutely. Look, I'm ready.
We have.
Well, folks, if you haven't noticed, this is why Nicole has such a fantastic podcast, Living Free in Tennessee. You ought to check it out, and why you ought to get her coffee. As I said before, I knew she's more than capable. I'm just going to sit back and shut up, and I shouldn't have said anything to begin with. You ladies got this. I'm just going to sit
But
here.
like and follow and share. Okay, go ahead.
No, you guys go ahead. I mean, I was kind of listening from down the hill, and exactly what I hoped would happen is happening. And now we just, at this point, y'all, there's so many people hitting me up about homesteading businesses and stuff like that. And, 90% of the time it's women. It really is. So that's why I was hoping to get on. And I know there's a bunch more people out there that I want to do this sort of thing with. As far as alive, I wanted to hit it from the women's angle because, like, for example, I know before I got out of here, you were talking about Michelle being in a, doing a trade that traditionally is a man's job. And then she had an incident where there was a couple of grandparents walked in with a little girl. Did you tell them about that? Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many people out there still living at 100 years ago, not realizing that, I mean, good night, man. You're going to relegate this kid to domestic dullness if that's what they think it is, when they have a desire and a dream to be far more than what everybody says they ought to be. So what? You got to put on booty shorts and go do videos on MTV or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Go out there. I mean, this is where it lies. No, it doesn't. And it doesn't, because here I am talking. I guess I said another anachronism. I see Gabby over there laughing. I guess maybe, I don't know what, maybe booty shorts on.
I think it's progressed far past the point of.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is
Nobody wants to see me in booty shorts right now.
Oh, there was a couple of guys at that last Self-Reliance Festival that wanted to smothered covered like Waffle House hash browns. So they were coming up to me and John asking, this guy had this, I was talking about it in the podcast, man. I was kind of he had this toothpick, and it was like twice as long as it should have been. He's sitting there, Nicole up there. She's single. He said, she's single. I said, yeah, I believe so. I'll tell you what, you think you can hook us up? And he had like this little shake every time he'd say, end every sentence. He's like, you think you can hook us up? And I'm like, hey, look, nephew, I told him the same thing. I think John told him. I was like, man, you got to go up there and handle your own business, man. She's her eyeballs running this show, man. I don't know, man. She may tell you to take a hike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, y'all, for all the ladies out there that keep hitting me up, no doubt there's going to be thousands that watch this after it airs. And folks, if you're still here, hit that thumbs up, because likely it's a new crowd. And you want to go back and go watch this from the beginning, because they have dropped some really awesome nuggets of really awesome stuff right now. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out yet again, go to freesteading.com. That's where we're all going to need to go get some business done. Especially, and plus we don't need to be doing with business with all these people that don't like us. Okay. So one more time, all the way around, I want to tell everybody where you're from, or not where you're from, but what you have, what you're doing, and where they can find you. So let's start with you, Shelly. Tell everybody about that bomb soap you got.
So it's Hickory Ridge soap, and you can find it at twooldcrowshomestead.com. Right now I have about 6 different soaps up there. I've got a couple more that are curing that'll be ready in a couple weeks. I will be we'll have a booth set up at the Back to the Land Festival. So if you want to come see and buy your soap in person, we would love to see you out there. It's going to be an awesome festival. I highly recommend it.
Gabby, she just brought up the festival, and folks,
I know.
we got a discount code. It's not a handle that I use right here, but you got a festival coming up. I want you to tell them about it. Also, tell them about your this fantastic idea y'all have with the comfrey tea bag. And hey, and I don't know if William hooked it in. Look, y'all, I'm just be straight with you. When it comes to tech, I'm a nincompoop. And 3 people right here, 4 people, all women right here can tell you how much of a nincompoop I am. But I think William was supposed to put, if he hasn't yet, he will put the link to Back to the Land. Gabby's going to tell you more about that, and also her bomb idea with Matt.
Yeah, so if you are interested in this conversation that we had tonight and want to explore it further, you are in luck, because the Back to the Land Festival this year, we put together a theme and actually had this whole concept top of mind. So the Back to the Land Festival this year is going to feature a ton of different speakers, including Nicole, which we're very excited to have her come back. And they're all going to be talking about kind of different domains of homesteading. So we have beekeepers, we have people who are doing market gardening, we have people who are growing mushrooms, doing herbal businesses, people who are milling. We've got Metcalf Mills is coming, blacksmithing, animal management, all of these sorts of, basically the gamut. We got everyone from almost every domain, even foraging. And most of these conversations we're gonna be having these conversations from the mindset of not just, here's the basics that you got to know about these different skills and disciplines, but we're also talking about, okay, now how did I create a business from them? And so that is what the Back to the Land Festival, that's what you can expect to hear from all of our speakers and our demonstrators. And we have a lot of cool things this year that we've added. We've got live music with an actual band this year. So High Fidelity, we're really excited. They're on Sirius XM if you listen to that. And then we've got kids permaculture classes, which we're really excited about. We tried to get them last year, but the dates just didn't line up with the teacher, but this year they did. And so we're really excited about that. And then just, another foraging walk, which was really popular last year. So we really tried to cram it all in. And we're really excited about that. So if you are interested in coming to the Back to the Land Festival, it's in Centerville, Tennessee. It's September 23rd through the 25th. And you can get, if you use Billy's discount code, which is PIMP, PIMP, you'll save $8 on your ticket order. So that's a little perk there. So that's backtothelandfestival.com. And then as far as Matt and I do a lot of things, we just like to be busy, but where pretty much all of our products are is hollowtopfarms.com. And because our homestead is on top of a holler, so that is why it is called that. But Hollow Top Farms has our fertilized eggs. It has our rainwater barrel spigot kits. And then it also has the new product that I told you about, the comfrey tea bags. So you can look at all of those on our site. Hopefully I hit publish on it right before this started. So hopefully that product is there. I will check afterwards. But that's
the marketing site. Where can people go on that?
Yeah. So then for my marketing, I'm going to be releasing or launching, I guess, a marketing coaching program in January, but you can see all the other stuff I offer at marketingbygabby.com. Okay. And then Matt's homestead design, if you're interested in that, he does TennesseeHomesteadDesign.com. So that is his.
That's the cool thing about going to these festivals, y'all. Here's how awesome it is. If you think we should not forsake the gathering of ourselves, okay? And here, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. At that same festival, the Back to the Land Festival, I had the joy of meeting Shelly and having her and her husband bail me out. Also met Nicole at the same doggone festival, and we're now business partners on a couple of things. And that is the beauty that look, this is wonderful that we're able to congregate here electronically, but it cannot replace being there in person. Look, I can teach all the classes all day long on how to grow a food forest, how to make your orchard sing, how to put in guilds. And those are good for what they are, but it is nearly impossible to beat the benefit of actually going into these places. Because had I not gone or agreed to go to the first Back to the Land Festival, I would have never had the joy and the benefit and the blessing of meeting them. Well, that led into other things. So Nicole invited me to come process a pig over at the last Self-Reliance Festival. Well, guess who I got to meet there? Well, met John Willis in person this time. Learned so much from him alone. Was worth the expense of going there for me. Also got to meet Jack Spearcoat, Dr. Ken Berry, all these other people that are going to almost certainly be at the next one, which Nicole's going to talk about in a minute. So if you're thinking I'm just going to stay at the house and I'm just going to vegetate in my own corner all the rest of my life, you're making a colossal mistake. You really are. Or if you're so introverted, because most of us, I got news for you, most of us in this space are in fact introverted. But you're going to find out that many of them turn into extroverts when they're around people just like you. So with that said, y'all, like, Gabby's got this back to the land thing set up along with Matt. It's going to be balling. We're going to be there. And I'm playing more of a backup dancer in this thing where I'm going to have the joy and the benefit of being able to not do anything really, but maybe MC a thing or two and be able to hang out with everybody back there. They don't want me on that.
Off the hook this year.
I'm sorry?
So we let him off the hook this year.
I get to hang out with everybody there because that's one of the things I do miss out sometimes in these festivals is I don't get to spend as much time hanging out and talking with all the people because honestly, that's one of the joys. I know, try not to laugh too hard, ladies, but generally I'm an introvert. Yeah, I know I am. I am actually quite introverted, but when I'm around people, when I'm around my tribe, you're gonna see a brother come loose. That's because we all there's no introductory period. We already know if you're at this festival, you already know, and you find that out in no time at all that you're in good company. You're going to meet like Darren at Hacks for the Homesteaders. Grumpy Acres is going to be out there. There's going to be a whole lot of people at this festival. But then we got another festival also on the heels of that. And you're going to find them all. You're going to see them all linked over at freesteading.com. Nicole's going to take it over from here. Now, at this next festival, I'm going to be doing a class on the 30th. And Nicole's going to give you more information about all that.
Yeah, so here's the thing. There are a lot of festivals and events all at one time. And in former years, I would have said, which one do I want to go to? After this year, where I have gone to a ton of events, I've been at the Exit and Build Land Summit. I've been all over the place. Lots of self-reliance festivals. Did my spring workshop here. I was at Back to the Land last year when they had it. Loved it. It was a great way to meet people of the quality I want to be around. And by that, I mean doers. I met people who said, I'm going to go X. And then I'd see them a month or two later. And guess what? Or I'd hear from them. They did it. That's the kind of people I want to be surrounded by. And so when I found out when Back to the Land Festival was, and I found out when Self-Reliance Festival was, I was like, it's perfect. If you've been wanting to check out Tennessee, come to Back to the Land Festival. You get a couple days off to go check out some things and see, like where's land for sale. And then we've got a plant guild class Friday after Back to the Land Festival. That's over at selfreliancefestival.com because it's associated with Self-Reliance Festival. Then Saturday and Sunday, it's a huge homesteader prepper jam session where we've got inspirational talks about starting a business, making yourself better, both physically and mentally, and more prepared, learning how to grow food and produce your own food. Other fun skills, like we also have blacksmithing, how to distill fuel. That's a fun one. We actually have somebody showing us how to spin wool this time. That's pretty cool. So we've got a canning demo that I'm not doing, thank goodness, because I thought I was going to have to do it. And then I realized somebody had she has started a canning school in that area. So all of this, guys, is within like an hour. So you can go to one, go to the next, and have a really great week meeting a bunch of doers. And our stuff is over at selfreliancefestival.com, just for Self-Reliance Festival or for the Plant Guild class that Billy's going to do. It's going to be a great time. I'm actually singing this time. So we don't have a cool band, but we'll have some music as well. I don't know if Matt and Gabby are making it out yet. We hadn't talked about that, but it's the week after their event. So I also understand if you're hiding under a blanket sleeping, after, because I know how hard the events are to do.
I think Matt will probably be there. Your festival is the same. There's a local festival called the National Banana Pudding Festival that same weekend, and I'm on the marketing committee, so that's
So
where
you got to go to the Banana Pudding Festival, but
Yeah.
you're going to send some banana pudding with Matt to Self-Reliance Festival, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll send some over for you guys.
yeah, guys, get your tickets for both those things because we both have limited space. And we were very close to not being able to let more people on this year at Self-Reliance Festival back in June. It was pretty full, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty full. And I know Gabby was saying they're honing in on sold out for Back to the Land too. So like grab your tickets while you can get them. And if you're worried about it being too far away, I don't know what to say. I drive 14 hours to Texas to go to events. I head all over the place, and I know it's hard to invest that time, but sometimes you go somewhere like Kansas they're having a big expo too, right? In Kansas, you go there and you find yourself sitting next to somebody who lives 5-10 miles away from you and you never met before. And you met because you have centered around something you're all interested in. That's why I think it's important not just to get involved on YouTube, with each other, but to meet in person. The power is in person. I would have never had the year I had I not gone to Back to the Land last year and met all of the people there and gotten inspiration and encouragement from people who have faced the same kinds of, struggles we all face in the homesteading world. So definitely check out both of those, backtothelandfestival.com and selfreliancefestival.com, and make it a fun week.
Nicole, that's a fantastic idea for the people that are going to go on vacation. I know everybody seems, they're listening to the mainstream prostitutes, and there's a certain segment out there thinking, oh, I got to batten down the hatches. I got to do all this. Folks, I'm here to tell you that is exactly what they want you to do. Just like Nicole said, I just recently drove all the way to Missouri because it was in the, Doug and Stacy had an event out there. They asked me to come out and speak, and we presented out there. That was 11 hours to go to the hometown of Mark Twain, who, by the way, said, you can't get a charitable view of the world around you by vegetating in your own space all one's life. And so don't believe the hype. You would not believe the opportunities that open up to you in the most massive ways because you're able to talk to somebody who, believe it or not, like Matt and Gabby's business, I think some of these are maybe offline conversations, but just by virtue of being at that thing and meeting the certain people, it spurs an idea in you that may start a business off full steam ahead. Same thing with, I would not have had the benefit and the blessing of meeting anybody right now. All three are my friends and having some great opportunities had I not stepped out there and said, you know what, man, I don't know about this. I mean, I don't know how this is going to pan out, but I haven't been to one of them yet. And I mean, not one of them yet, where it is not proven to be a tremendous, massive blessing in my life and in hers as well. I mean, this time, if anybody's wondering, every time we go to these things, had one creepy dude roll up. Yo, man, it was another guy with a toothpick. Yo, man, where the homestead honey at? I'm like, at my house? What are you trying to do? But no, she's going to be here. She almost never gets away because somebody's always got to be here. And she's actually going to be at this one. So she's going to help teach. Eric Sider, world-renowned permaculture designer. He's going to be there helping out. Just kind of surprised me with that one the other day. We'll probably pick him up on the way. Now, that's a fair distance for us just to go there. We're talking 6 hours one way. So, and some of you are coming from further away. But look, if you're thinking about the distance, look, no journey's too great when you find what you're looking for. You dig? And this is exactly what you're looking for. So I want to thank everybody. Honey, did you have anything to add as far as at the end of this thing? Yep. Not the best color person in the business for nothing, y'all. But she's fantastic in so many different ways. She's going to be there with me. And everybody else is going to be here too for these festivals coming up. Get your tickets down below. Go check out freesteading.com. And whoever had the jams on, I'm digging it. It's all good. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comments, but please tell other people out there about this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And, evangelize this information. We have got to start doing business with one another. And Black's Tropical Homestead, y'all need to roll out here too. I think you would dig the crowd you're in, and you're not going to believe some of the great advice, business information, all the wonderful things you're going to find at these festivals. Mandy Garrett, it was cool to meet her at the last class as well. So thank you, everybody, for checking us out. We're going to sign off.